Yeah, so I think I figured out what he's doing. Still insane. Because he would have to set it up years in advance. Looks like number one. But there's a company, I can't remember the name of it. It's Warp Finance. They found that there was a bunch of deep liquidity and they just had trouble. They couldn't hunt it down. They're like hiring Coinbase and other companies to help hunt down this like unused liquidity. Seems Richard might have found it. And he's like flash loaning like liquidity pool tokens. So of like a regular flash loan, you got to pay it all back before the block. And I'm sure that's the same. I'm sure it's all the same rules, I would assume, except instead of just flash loading one side of the contract, you're probably buying out the entire side of the contract, and then like literally filling it up with DAI, right? So then it assumes that the value's still there, picks it up, snapshots it, and fucking wraps it. Then he uses his whatever his little create 2 coin that he has, and it creates LPs, so it mimics and it looks in the blockchain, assumes it's the exact same value, and then he replaces it. So I don't know. I mean, you can't really see much of it going on, but you can go on like DeFi Llama, and you can go see like how much Lido and how much Compound and how much Maker have been like loaning out and using over the past few weeks compared to what they usually are. Like even Pancake swaps up like 5 or 6 billion. I believe that's what he was doing yesterday, was getting some untapping, otherwise unused liquidity. But I still got to look into it a little bit more. But if that's it's pretty wild if that's the case. Just like literally flash loaning LP tokens. I mean, he's doing it all within fucking one block time frame. And then as soon as he's done doing it, it seems like that liquidity not only becomes used, but those bots start fucking chomping at it like it's Sunday brunch. So if he's unlocking that liquidity for those people, he's pretty much giving them like free passive income, because it's otherwise they wouldn't get anything, because it was literally not being utilized. I don't know if he's so, and that technically he could create a huge liquidity pocket, like just fucking massive. And it would just be like literally just unlocked liquidity like on demand. But I think like 3 years ago, it was like 1.4 billion. I'll have to look at the little document that I read, but yeah, they said it was like that's only half of it. I would assume that you got the other half of the liquidity to mess with too. So I don't know if he might not be filling. He might just buy it out. He might not even have to buy anything. That's the crazy thing. If he just takes a snapshot, literally mints the token that doesn't have any value, then uses the DAI where it is like from fucking over here that he's got, fills it up that way. If the contract address is even similar, it makes it seem like it's $1, and you have to fill it back up. So either way, is he only paying half the price for the liquidity pocket, or somehow getting away with unlocking it for nothing? Or still, that's even crazier. We'll have to wait and see though. Definitely something like that's going on.
I did see a snippet as to why we needed such low fees before Maker tried to even consider the way that they're building DAI. If what I had a look at on chain yesterday was true, some of the major liquidity movements that the DAI contract has to do to make things work, the amount of gas required to make it all work and filter all those pulse through all those LPs. Like we're making buys and sells in DAI for like what, 30, 40, 50 pulse. The contract's spending about 10,000 pulse to do all the liquidity movements to make that work.
Shit.
Like it is super fuck off gas heavy to move tokens through like 100 different LP pools to spread all the liquidity.
That's why they use That's why they have S guy, right? So they just like they try to make a quick conversion. Because with S guy, that's whenever that's how they can do all this. Without S guy, it's not doable. That's for sure. And Dai looks like like you're saying,
Yeah.
it's slow. It's unless it's on a new chain doing something else, it's gonna be act that same way. The only way they can do this right now is only because of Pulse. That's the only reason you can probably
Yeah.
do it, right? And that
I mean, if you even thought of trying to do that on ETH, it's like a singular fucking transaction would cost you like $10,000 fucking dollars.
right? Even just wrapping the liquidity up and doing all that would be probably wouldn't even be profitable for them to do it. But yeah,
it'd be a gas furnace. You'd literally be burning money just to fucking buy 5 Dai.
Well, that explains a lot of it. So that's where Pulse comes into the equation, because they have the copy and it's cheaper. Because that's the only if anyone's gonna be taking snapshots of anything like to copy a blockchain, they're probably gonna go back to the day before yesterday to do it, because it's gonna seem like otherwise they're gonna be copying liquidity that are now tracked. So that might be a big day in the history of blockchain. It's like, no, we gotta snap it before April the 8th, 2024, because if we don't, that liquidity is going somewhere else. I mean, he's playing by whatever it is, and it's playing by the rules. It seems benevolent, but unlocking liquidity is massive. Like that's what controls market cap. It's almost like he's going to use liquidity to control like the price. He could probably like leverage the liquidity against itself. Like he could do all kinds of weird shit if he wanted to. But the way the world's looking, it's like rather have someone like him control it. So rather him find out first and be doing it. And I think that's the whole play. It's like them and the bigger. I think there's just a whole bigger thing going on. The bigger guys, the bigger people, just know, that if they don't do these things, the government can probably step in and do it. So it's like either someone takes action without a doubt, or be forced to be screwed all over with our money all over again.
And do it without fear of punishment too, because shit me dead if it all comes through in the wash and they're all exposed, like that's a lot of jail time.
But I think it's a planned deal. I think everyone knows, all the bigger people. I think they know what's going on. I think it's probably a problem that they've been trying to address, but they couldn't figure out for a long time. And the only way you could do it is by copying the blockchain. And maybe he took a snapshot of fucking something on BNB too, or just the way, because BNB is also an EVM, just because it's set up the same way. He's able just to kind of mimic and do the exact same thing over there. But I was almost 100% positive I saw fucking those wallets transacting on BSC yesterday, but I was driving. I didn't have a lot of time to look into it. I think it's the same. It's the same bot wallets. It's like the same wallets that are always botting everything. I think they were also starting to bot the BSC.
I mean, it's a no-brainer to me, because Richard was so adamant for so long about forking BSC. It doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have some serious liquidity reserve pools here, that he would want to recover.
It's so smart. It's fucking genius. I mean, I get why he didn't copy the consensus, right? I mean, the bridge and all that. That was where he literally got hacked. So 1 second, copper just like inside. Yeah.
I mean, the next big thing that's probably going to come out is somebody will try and pin the BSC bridge hack to Richard Hart using the bots to figure out that they fucking could hack it.
Well, I mean, I think that's right. That there is phantom involved. It was a
Your connection's shit, Rick.
They probably they get their
Your connection, yeah, he's gone. Your connection fragmented, Greg.
with it. Is that better?
Slowly, but we missed that entire section.
Oh, I was super loud. It was super loud, so I was just saying I was gonna be quiet. I was gonna not talk because it's gonna be loud where I was walking. Fuck. I'll go back where I was at. It was better. No, it's good. I thought it'd be better inside. Can y'all hear me or no?
Can hear you now.
Okay, cool. Just probably took a second for it to kind of connect on. It's been pretty good, yeah. So if that's the play, if something's going on, it seems benevolent and it seems like as soon as he messes with it and changes it around, stuff that hasn't been trading for years is all of a sudden being traded again. So if he's unlocked it, he might have unlocked it in a way that only allows maybe these bots to go in and get to it like a certain way. I mean, it's probably going to be some kind of certain path it has to follow because that's the whole thing. What he was doing was like, if you look at it like as a 2D perspective, it's like zipping up and unzipping like a folder, like a package of folders. Like so, he's like created an extra little out pretty much to where it's just like instead of having to click through 30 folders to get to it, it's like just a drop down click to the liquid key, as opposed to where it has to like it's inside, and I guess that's how it got locked up. So this where it kind of and some of these places I'm sure just got trapped, or they cut off the wallet. But the Ethereum didn't worry about the leftover liquidity at the time. They were just like, fuck it, just turn the person's wallet off, something like that, and they just had no access to these liquidity pools anymore. And Ethereum just over time said didn't worry about it. But I'm sure if you create a pair with anything, and Ethereum just starts running up those X's, I mean you're gonna have value on the other side. Especially if it's
well think about all of the LP tokens and shit that were burnt into Pancake V1.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because so many projects got absolutely fucked over when Pancake went to V2 and said, V1's down, not supported.
Yeah, dude. I remember that now. So you think that's why he made a V1 and a V2? I think it was by design. I don't think it was a mistake at all. I think the V1 and V2 was 100% a plan, if not a necessity for some of this to stay decentralized. Where it's like an auto burn versus a community pool.
The only way you would probably get a definitive answer would be to have somebody do a full fucking tear down audit of the code between V1 and 2 and see what was changed.
Because I mean, the same thing on test.
If it's literally like, if it's like 1 or 2 lines of code that he changed in that kind of hurry,
right?
I think it could be pretty much, But if it's like a complete rebuild where there's several different structures that had to be dramatically altered, that's not like, unless you had some serious coding power at your disposal, that's not like a fucking weekend job.
Right. Let me see if I can find that article about this company that had that locked liquidity. There's been no shortage of futures. Was it Warp Finance, which is gain percentage new use cases for unused liquidity provider tokens. So this stuff isn't quote unquote new. kick myself out. So it's not a new type of idea. I think it's just the fact of being able to find it the way that he's found it, and then some of it he just kind of owned or set it up in a way to where he could, whenever he did snap the copy, there was a clear line of sight for a plan in place. And they couldn't do this without SDAI, and they definitely couldn't do it without the 20x leverage that they can take against the SDAI itself too. So if it's a flash loan on liquidity pool tokens, it's fucking insane. But it's swapping hundreds of millions of dollars out. The amount of patience and just, I mean, at this, it might just be set on to run through it. They deal with it whenever it's there. They know that they can take the leverage. They know that they can spot it out and make a profit by doing it. But that might be the whole thing. That liquidity might just be unlocked for him now, and he might just be able to use that as a plot to just continue to leverage out more money out of the system. He might not be able to like just take the liquidity out and move it around and like tell it where to go, but he might be able to like literally pocket it around and leverage it, like just continue to sell one end or the other end of it, or fucking if it's cheaper to swap the whole batch at one time. Like I'm sure that's gonna the more and more profits that you can make, you get these MEV bots to have. They do it automatically. So I guess if they see a leverage trade that's profitable, I guess it doesn't matter how much it is or what it is, they're just going to do it. And then eventually they'll eventually just move liquidity around anyway. So if he's somehow tying all three of these chains together with some kind of deep liquidity pocket, it's pretty awesome.
Tell me how to build a bridge without building a bridge.
I think that's it too, right? I think it's technically a new type of bridging technology too. I guess you could also look at it like that.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is how to the authorities. How can you determine where one's money ended up if you see a 0x transfer from a fucking personal wallet to a wallet that seems to just accumulate the fuck out of everything and then give some of it out in a sporadic fashion to everybody else using OX transfers? And then try and correlate that with a completely different block height on a different blockchain entirely, trying to find out if the OX transfer went back to the same wallet that OX transferred on a different chain, or if it OX transferred to a completely different wallet on that other chain.
Right. I wonder if those are going to be used. I wonder if they're like going to be used like as routers. I wonder if
the only thing I would say is I would just be hoping that the website or the front end doesn't actually make recordings of everything that happens and then it just routinely gets purged. Because once you do that, it's like, well, I don't know where the fuck the money went. I just press swap.
It just seems like it was already kind of under his control, and it's just another way of unlocking it, or it's some kind of benevolent way of unlocking it. Because otherwise, it's wasted liquidity that probably would have been taken advantage of by somebody at some point. So it just seems like, rather go to the people than than anyone else kind of stepping in and just overruling everybody. If that's the case, it's something kind of speculation is high at this point. It's kind of all rolling into, he's kind of his big tweet, his tweeting about the SEC and stuff. It seems like he doesn't have much fear about the other things that have happened. So, if anything, he's just fearful for everyone else. Because if he gets screwed over, we're all screwed. Like if they're going, it's just escaping like that pretty much. They're making it using your personal wallet for personal things is apparently not acceptable. Yeah.
As much as a deal would see an end to that fucking court case pretty quick, I would like to see that one play out because it would really set a fucking ridiculous bar against the SEC's ability to just waltz in and say, you get a fine, and you get a fine, and everybody
Right.
gets a fine. Fuck you all.
I think that's what some people are assuming, that Richard's not just going to take the fine. Like, he might. I mean, I would. It's probably fucking stressful.
It might be, but this is Richard Hart we're also talking about too. It's like it's very hard to really put an answer on what he's going to do simply because he is two sides of a coin a lot of the time.
Yeah, the dude's a fucking genius. I mean, it's like, what if he got the SEC just to come after him just so they could watch what he was doing, right? He's like, okay, now I'm going to get y'all to pay attention, and you can pay attention very closely and see how this isn't illegal. So this way, y'all, when y'all do try to come later, when y'all try to come and investigate me later on, you were already here witnessing it. So
Yeah,
might be,
it's like exactly. School's in session. I'm your teacher for the day. Come watch me print money without you having a fucking damn thing in the world that you can actually say about it.
Correct. Because I mean, the whole letter that got him in trouble and the whole thing, that seemed fucking ridiculous, and that seemed like a ploy. But he got their attention. I think the whole plan of the whole time, like designing Hex and doing everything the way he's designed it, was to get their attention, to get them to pay attention. So whenever he started doing bigger stuff, you know, they would already be watching. But it's just, I mean, if it's just him, that's insane. Like, if he somehow came up with a lot, like, clearly it's not just him, you know, but you got Maker and you got the ability of SDI. So it's like, this was planned, the 20x leverage, like, they knew how much money they would need, you know, they knew that they had the SAC funds, but they couldn't risk it any other way. But yeah, just if that's the case, if they're somehow committing flash loans against liquidity pool tokens and really sparking back up that pool, that's literally end up becoming probably one of the deepest liquidity pools around. I'm trying to figure out where else I was reading this, where I kind of got the idea from. Took a couple screenshots, but that was the article that's called Warp Finance. So it's like, they don't go into too much detail, but they do talk about, like, they were trying to hire finders teams, like teams to help find this liquidity, because this is not easy to find. It seems like he just batched it all up and took a screenshot of it, was just waiting for the copy. And the fact he's messing with like BSC too, it's like, well, where else did he need to go? It might have been just like something that copied, so whenever they copied the chain, it might have just been something that, like a certain folder, a certain way that funds were being used that just weren't being utilized properly. So it's like on every EVM chain, or at least on these two copies of the EVM chain where the thing still persisted. It might have been a V1, V2 issue, like you're saying. That might be exactly what it is. It might be like some locked liquidity on V1 that they're unlocking out of this portal. But yeah, it seems like it's either some way bigger stuff than we could probably envision, or it's another one of those things where it's like, this was so obvious, anyone could have done it. But also the token.
It's only obvious after the fact. It's never obvious before it. I mean, there's been a lot of tech advancement in the last couple of years that have really started to unlock the capacity for this to even happen.
Right.
Like, I'm just looking at a problem myself in terms of coding. I can't get a standard GPT AI to build me a script to do what I want it to do specifically because it's limited to 2021 code. But if I find a bot, an AI that's unlocked, which I think I've found one, it can build me a script that will allow me to use gasless signatures to pull assets from a compromised wallet without fucking having to put in gas fees into that wallet just to get it drained.
Correct.
That simple aspect in itself, while it's innocuous, builds to the bigger picture of fucking all sorts of compounded complex transaction interactions that may or may not use gas to get the job done.
Yeah, you would literally have to fund that wallet. See, why
Now
this,
it's like you just have to have access to that wallet, make a signature. Not even on chain, you just make a gasless signature and off you go.
So in this article, it randomly talks about, it says, without dedicated liquidity pools to earn new tokens, those liquidity pool tokens are somewhat redundant. According to DeFi Pulse, I don't know what DeFi Pulse is. There's a $1.4 billion worth of tokens on that DEX today that are acting in that way. It doesn't really go into much detail. I don't even know what DeFi Pulse is.
I wonder if Pancake's V1 is still tracked on CFC or CG, whether or not the daily volume would tell you anything.
See, that's what I was looking on DeFi Llama earlier today. Like you can just like the amount of fees, just to pay the fees, like in 24 hours is like 300 grand for just for Maker. But you remember how he also he sent money to Compound and he sent money to Lido like months ago? We were like, why would he do that? So it seems like he was just creating another way to just make another. If he needed more money, he could literally take it out again. I think you can actually take loans out against wrapped tokens, and SDAI is technically a wrapped token, so that means he could literally not have to take all 20 the 20x leverage out. He could take it like a 3x leverage or 5x leverage, and then go and leverage that in Lido. So it's just yeah. I don't think technically it would just have to be the bot reading a script. It wouldn't actually be a person. It's just kind of the bot would just be acting like they always do, but they're just using that a few extra lines of code to leverage themselves up.
It would be a really smart ability if you could leverage disused, burnt LP pools to do leverage trading or liquidity provisioning for other liquidity protocols in that manner.
Yes, that's what Warp. So that's what Warp was trying to do. Warp said that if you came in if you were one of a liquidity provider, and taking tokens to be over collateralized, saying 1.5, blah blah. Stablecoin loans can then be taken out. So that's their whole deal was to be able to take stablecoin loans out against these little pools. But I don't think anyone thought about actually having the amount of DAI that he has, and being able to copy the other side. So he might be able to literally snap it, fill it up, and then take a picture of it, puts it all back, and then it becomes with that DAI there, it becomes more open aspect type of liquidity pool, because it's the DAI that's already sitting on all these other chains. They might not be using the same contract address. He might just be filling up all the work. He's got USDT, USDC too, so he might just be filling it up with the corresponding, correct asset that was on the other side of it, or he could be just completely making it change altogether. Definitely some wild shit going on though. And I think it'd probably be, unless you know what's going on, it'd probably be almost impossible to track. He's probably got many outlets. And I think that's why he sent the money to Lido and Compound months ago. The whole thing is just a big unknown, I mean, it could be Spark doing it too. Like it's just, but then they, none of this could have been actually done, I don't think, without the copied aspect of it on the other end.
Yeah, for sure. The
'Cause
only thing Warp really does, though, is it allows Warp to, I think, as you said, leverage the LP tokens. But that's for protocols that are coming out now that will provide those LP tokens. It's not about BERT LP.
Yeah.
I
See,
would really like to see something come out in the near future that leverages BERT or
I think
permanently locked LP.
I think that's what MakerDAO is going to do with their new chain. I think they're literally going to mint stable coins out of people that are hunting or finding this or providing liquidity through it. Like I think that's their whole new thing. Or they're terrified of what's going to happen to this, so they're already planning to change their name. Like they already know someone's going to get in trouble, someone's going to go down, go by a different name. Nah, it's just it's got to be something that, I mean, it's just the way someone can waltz in there and just use liquidity pool tokens like that. If it makes sense, I mean, the blockchain is the blockchain. You can only bend it so many ways. You can't really break the rules, but as long as you're still following the rules. A flash loan against liquidity pool tokens is just like any other token. But I'm sure it doesn't have the same like reentrancy attacks and type of stuff written inside some of these older codes, some of these older contracts that would have been sitting there for years anyway, right? So it's probably a combination of things that made it even possible to obtain. And then the question is, where does it end up? How does it get there? Is it already there? So we already know that he knows how to keep certain things from being tracked on certain sites. There are other sites track it as something else. Like whenever I saw the SDAI still in his wallet, right? But if you look on Etherscan, there's nothing there. But it might have been sitting on a different chain. Just like might have been sitting on BSC waiting for this exact reason. No, I don't know. Exciting. It's pretty crazy shit though. It's exciting. Great features. It's kind of nestles it up and kind of puts it back and just pretends like nothing ever happened, and then somehow it becomes tradable. It seems like a benevolent action. I would think that like whenever he was doing all this the first time, I was like, man, he's just gonna make this huge liquidity pool, and then he's just gonna get an oracle for the DEX, and then he's just gonna allow everyone's like allow different DEXs, just to point their oracles at this big pocket of liquidity. It'd be like a tri-DEX, like cross-DEX liquidity thing, but you would need Link to come out with their CCIT shit to where you can use those the cross-chain dApps, dApps, things like that. Then that would be the perfect utility for any DEX, honestly, because that would open up so much liquidity for any DEX being able to be a cross-chain Oracle type service where you could literally just trade into and out of it. I was trying to see what token I was looking at yesterday that he was trading. I think it was like Chrome, BUSD or something. I don't know. He's got all these weird names too, right? Like, especially on fucking Pulse, and they're all sitting in the same. That's the difference with Pulse. Everything stays tied together, so all the liquidity pools pretty much they're all pocketed together. So like whenever you're looking at stuff, it seems way more difficult to find stuff because it's literally just all batched up rather than kind of spread out and not touching or getting shed through. There's always going to be a connection on Pulse chain, and that might have been what he was doing, just kind of putting a file or a folder or a connection between two points that just weren't touching before, and that can't happen on Pulse because of the way it's designed. So it had to have been maybe a earlier function in the blockchain that he was trying to hash out to open that possibility of being able to move those funds back up. Then it'd be like, okay, well, who is it? Why are they doing it? It's just the timing of everything is just, in my opinion, kind of tells you exactly what's going on, but not exactly, but who it is and what their intentions could possibly be. Because they would probably have to take that copied contract from his end, maybe even take those liquidity pool tokens that are copied and use those to like swap in there, so that the blockchain would just keep reading it as if it was the same stuff, and then swap out the only way. Yeah, if he had the DAI, it would make sense too. If he had the DAI and then the blockchain the DAI that he had read it as this, then he wouldn't have to spend anything. But if he's just picking it up to take a snapshot of it to put it back just so he can like leverage it on it against a loan, it's pretty wild too. We only do that so many times before the liquidity's gone too. So wild. Big brain shit. Makes my head hurt. I'm sure it makes everyone else's head hurt. All right. Gave me a headache yesterday for sure. I gave up at some point looking at it. But I did find the article, so I was like, whatever's going on, it's not something that's just so brand new of a thought. I think it's just like you said, it's a brand new ability to leverage these things.
It's just another incremental step, and at the moment, it's tokens he can access through people bringing them to him. What's going to be next year's fucking adaptation? And it's got to be the burnt and the permanently locked stuff. If you can leverage that, you're essentially gaining control of huge reserves of liquidity that the chain's otherwise never going to be able to leverage. Right. It'll be permanently locked there to it's forever locked until you access it.
Well, until the government comes in and creates ways of really unlocking it and stealing it anyway. I think that might be their whole thing. It's like, well, they're going to come in anyway. It's like, in my opinion, these guys might, they're the bigger guys are either they're preparing for like dusk till dawn, ride or die type thing. It's like, do we really believe in this working or do we not? Because if we leave that there, we're fucked, kind of thing. Like they're going to be if we don't figure it out, someone will, kind of scenario. Because there's a reason why USDC and USDT are so easily, they're so easily flash loan them. They mint that shit like out of thin air. Like DAI is the only one that's you have to.
USDT is literally fucking fiat in digital format at the moment. Right. So they just print billions on billions, and USDT have the capacity to just fucking lock up anybody's wallet whenever the fuck they want.
Right.
Bridge Hackbar will just lock that up. Done.
Right. 100%. So that's the question. Like,
who got hacked? We'll just print another million and send it back to them.
Right. I guess there was a reason why they kind of left it untouched. Because I guess when you're making that much money as Ethereum, you probably don't even worry about it. Whenever at the time, you're just like, just lock the wallet. Who cares? Just don't let the money move around. We'll just mint more of it. You know what I mean? That might have been the play back. Got hacked. Something happened. They just stop track on it. Ether scan and then they did it.
Yeah, for centralized entities, USDT is pretty much exactly what they would want in a alpha test of a CBDC. They got the ability to control it. They got the ability to say who can trade it, who can't trade it. They can print it to fucking non-existence if they want and still call it $1. Like, yeah.
It's really leaving
Your microphone's fucked again.
Hold on.
It's getting better now.
Yeah, it's getting
I
sketchy.
mean,
though.
yeah,
Kind of messing with the
when
antenna.
people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to buy PUSDT," I'm like, you do realize that USDT would technically be the enemy of DAI, right? I don't see that shit heading anywhere near stability on this chain unless Tether itself made that happen, and I don't see that happening.
That's why I was wondering: is he refilling these pools up with DAI? Because that would be another way that he could do that. That's the only other thing that he would have that he could have excess of, because he could literally mint DAI. If it's an administrator wallet, he can literally mint DAI and replace it, and then take that and use that as literally you could use that pretty much almost as the collateral to pull that out, because those tokens
And
exist.
and it still works with the whole paperwork side of things going. That DAI, like Maker wants to see 100 billion DAI in existence.
3 years. Yeah.
Like
I got
he
75
just
billion
keeps
to go.
slowly scaling it up as he pulls in liquidity from these pools, swaps the existing asset out with DAI backing, and then he's able to use the existing asset to do what he needs to do while still being able to provide the liquidity for that pool, albeit in DAI.
Right. It might not be all done at once, or it might be one big thing done at once and then a bunch of little things that have to take place for it to even be leveraged, because the bots are over there trading it for a reason. So it might just spark, like, lit a switch underneath it real quick to, like, kind of caught it back on fire, so they knew to start targeting it, to pay attention to it, that actually access that these funds. Fucking wild. Am I still cutting out, or is it okay? Damn, fuck that.
It's working. I just moved away from the phone for a sec.
Okay, I'll do it. It got real loud here for a second, and everything kind of cut off. I was good old rig life. Son of a bitch. While we're over here watching this dude play with fucking hundreds of millions of dollars in 15 minutes, I get scared trying to fucking send $30 to somebody. Like, I have to, like, check this fucking transaction 2 or 3 times. Can only imagine fucking hitting the send these things off to go fucking move around hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's the other thing too. I guess you'd have to have access to a ton of money to even make it possible. Then you'd have to have the copy tokens, seemingly, and somehow unlock it. And then they just continue to trade it. Even if people can't get to it, as long as the bots can, and the bots see a profitable trade, they'll go any which way they can, cross chain. Didn't think that it was going to be a tri-chain type of thing, but in his mind, I guess that was always the play.
Well, I've had a quick reread over some of the endgame documentation because I was trying to tell someone to start reading it. You're talking more about a web of chains, not just tri-chain. They were already referencing other layer ones like Solana in their endgame paperwork. So don't be surprised if we start seeing bots fire up on most of the L1s in the next 6 months.
Yeah, it seems like there's been increased trading around everywhere. But I mean, honestly, that could just make it look like it's just like regular market dynamics as well. You know, it's just And if this AI's, doing what it's supposed to be doing, it's supposed to be following sentiment anyway. But it can actually, the way I was reading it is that it can fucking create sentiment. That's which would be insane. And if some of the other stuff kind of ties together, like some of the other experimental stuff, I mean, if all they have to do is point an API, and all of a sudden this thing can start mimicking and recalling certain things that it's been trained to do, like it actually went to school to understand human behavior.
Well, that's it. It's like all those bots have to do is milk the FOMO aspect of crypto. They just have to milk the retail to make this whole thing work. And
shift it around.
If that's what they have, if what they have to do is create a FOMO atmosphere in order to milk the chain to generate liquidity to allow him to create a meta chain of bridgeable fucking systems, then that's what that bot will do. I think it's been imprinted with a bigger plan than just make money, send it to Pulse Chain.
Yeah, it's hard not to just say it like it is, though, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just going to assume it's all for the money, and I think you're right, though. I think it's way bigger. It's way bigger than what most of us could even probably see.
The second easiest thing for someone to understand in this space beyond memes is money.
Yeah.
Like everybody sees it beyond. If it's not a fucking if it's not you getting attached to the project for the love of the project, you're there for the money.
Oh
yeah. So this type of dynamics hack that they're using is just simple. Like it's very complex, but it's very simple to understand. They're gonna, if they can't use FOMO to establish their plans, they will create the FOMO to make their plans, and they'll railroad Solana the same way they'll railroad BSC if they have to into getting what they need to make it work.
Right. I mean, that might be what we're seeing. It might just be that these things acting the way that they were designed to act. They just might. I do know that there was certain tools and certain aspects of Pulse Chain to where, the consensus and some of the underlying controlling of the chain was written to where they could use tools from outside the actual blockchain. So if you had to write some kind of constructor code or some consensus code could be used. It didn't have to be written in Solidity to where to interact with everything. They could actually use a larger, more scalable type of engineering program. Because I know that was one of their things with Binance, why they didn't want to copy it, because the consensus was weird, the bridge, then it got hacked, so it made it obvious. And then Ethereum, same way, right? It's the way that they explained it, it's running all their blocks are just fill the consensus block. So it's 80% of their blocks are, dealing with the consensus code. So it's running a computer inside of a computer. So you're just you're hindering yourself the ability to fix things if your underlying consensus code has to be written on the blockchain too. And it just becomes redundant at some point because it just fills up all the blocks with just the underlying consensus. It's we can all agree that this is probably a good thing. Can we just get it done? And they probably couldn't ever do that on Ethereum. So they had to come up with a bigger plan to copy the chain. They probably figured it out early on that no one was going to do it. They had to do it. And if no one else did it, it was going to be a detriment could be potential detriment to the blockchain whenever the government's rules came in and they got their fucking dirty paws on it. Or if USDC or USDT got their hands on it, what could they have give them the ability to do, right? And it wouldn't be for the people. So, I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah, well, companies weren't made to be virtuous.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. If it seems sketchy, I can guarantee you that it's probably for the betterment of the single person than it would be for any other entity to get in there and try to do it. And I mean, assuming that it's him or them or just almost has to be the combination of these three people, or these three entities, because it wouldn't be possible without either of the other existing. Because you have to have die, you have to have the S die, and you have to have the copy. So it's just, the question is like, how much is it? How much will it affect stuff? And like you said, will it be just these pools alone would be some kind of meta chain, which is huge. And more than likely set up before they took the snapshot of the copy. And then he would have actually probably started, like, we had to kind of pointed the at some liquidity pools on that side too, and just been like, all right, we're gonna copy some of this too, gonna copy that, all right. Now we're good. It's not just Ethereum, it's like, or it's an actual Ethereum problem. So whenever they copied the Ethereum chain and then they upgraded it later on or something, it still left these funds sitting there, just with one side of the liquidity having value and then nothing being traded on the other side. So it just seems almost redundant. Just sitting there, just kind of like a fucking savings account. And this would be pointless, I guess, especially in the eyes of DeFi holders and those liquidity pool providers themselves, I guess, too. They would benefit. They would benefit too. All of a sudden, those tokens would be trading again, so they can make fees again on those tokens. Because I'm assuming what they're going to be doing is it gives them something to trade, right? So now they actually have something to leverage it against the price on Pulse. So that would be the thing that kind of gives them the idea of being able to do it. It's just like, oh, okay, we need to pay attention to this thing over here that we just weren't paying attention to before. We didn't know it existed. So it might have been kind of way to just get them to get those liquidity pools to pay attention to these newer copies that they have. But I think Richard was in here. Richard, he's got a token on Ethereum, and you can literally see these little bots trickle over and buy and sell on either side of on the bridge. But they know that stuff's existing. It's just the path to get there might be a little bit more difficult than a human might be able to.
Here's an interesting thing. It could also be a way of being able to allow old coiners the ability to re-anonymize themselves over time too. Think about it this way, right?
Oh shit!
what we see with SparkSwap's bridge right now, OX transferring from one wallet to a fucking big wash wallet, then OX transferring out of on a different chain another big fuck off wash wallet to a completely different address, because you could put a different receiver address in the bridge, so it does it mid-bridge. If you were to create that, if you were to create that across 7, 8, 9 different chains with the ability to self-host your own front end and be able to route it through like onion routing and Tor and shit.
Well, that's what that's what
how on fucking earth would but how on fucking earth would a fucking centralized entity be able to conclusively prove to someone you sent that money across the bridge, now pay your CGT?
Holy shit! You're right though. That is right. That is what SparkSwap does. Though SparkSwap literally creates front ends of Maker for people to utilize. Like that's like, I remember like reading this. I'm like, why would I need to know how to do this? It like tells you how to control the Maker contract, how to run it, and literally how to start using it in your own way. So they might have just hit the on button, and then as soon as they allowed this, the bots just did what the bots did. They just saw the route and just went with it because it became a possible route.
I mean, tell me this is fucking not a way for the original fucking tenets of anonymous fucking crypto ownership to happen without saying it. Like,
Dude, that's pretty wild. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know that they had a front end like that. I knew SparkSwap was doing some crazy shit, and then people just assumed that they didn't have anything to do with this the other Spark. But it was clear whenever we saw their bridge, like literally just eating away at Ether DAI and just fucking plugging away at SDAI, like only like making sure it routed there first before it went anywhere else. It's like didn't matter what you sent. It was like forced you to go certain ways.
yeah, like it's clean. It is instant. It is not fast. It is
Dude,
fucking
it's instant.
instant.
It is fucking instant. It is.
It is like at this point without putting fucking IP trackers and shit on everything. It's not really traceable because it's just a bunch of OX transfers.
Yeah, I remember I was
And
trying to tell
now
someone
it's building into multiple
good.
chains.
That's fucking wild though. And they're literally taking out one and just like feeding through another. And yeah, now it's literally going to multiple chains. Jesus.
Like why would you use Tornado Cash if you could just make a protocol that did that while simultaneously hiding your location information?
Correct. You don't even need Tornado Cash anymore if you have something like this. They already have the. I know their bridge is instant. I didn't know how it worked. I never did. I just but there's like a little router where you can just have it sent to where you can have it received here and then sent to wherever.
Yeah, like you could just you could send DAI into that wallet. Something in the front end will say that's happened at this address as per the request for the bridging. Send that amount on the other chain to the requested address.
Right, mint, whatever. Because I think it's pretty much all it's doing. Might be why it's so fast too, because they have the ability to just burn and mint the DAI right off the right out of those addresses.
Well, I mean, you're sending fucking you send BNB in, you get Pulse out. Whatever the fuck happens in between would probably be worth a look at. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's irrelevant if what you're looking for is trying to trace where the money went, because
correct.
And
good luck.
Unless you know the exact fucking block heights of each chain at exactly the same point in time,
it makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, you put a whole new spin on this thing. But yeah, I did know SparkSwap was instant. I used it a couple times and I was like, how the fuck? Why is no one talking about this? How was that fast?
Yeah, like I even Change Now with the way that they route things. Change Now still takes minutes to get anything from anywhere to anywhere. SparkSwap is fucking instant.
I do remember doing it. I was like, it was instant. It was 100% almost. Felt like it was instant.
Like, my MetaMask couldn't change fucking networks quick enough to catch it. It's that quick.
Yeah, if SparkSwap has anything to do with this, with Spark, it's game over. You're gonna, the deepest liquidity pools you could ever think of are gonna just open up over here.
Yeah, and it's on demand. It's not like they have to
give it to anybody.
A shitload of things to make it work.
And you have to go through them to get it.
Yeah.
That's so
whatever they've got that's operating their servers and allowing that to talk to each chain independently, it's fucking fast at the moment. But I would like to see them IPFS it or somehow make it resistant to censorship.
It seems like they have everything else
That might be the
planned,
next step.
right? It almost seems like everything's kind of been falling into a plan and into a place. Kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, that's where that was going. That's why that happened. Because I mean, like sending the funds to Lido and to Compound so long ago, and we're just assuming certain things. It might have just been so they took that money, they bridged it into their protocols on Pulse Chain or a BSC, wherever he's going to need that money to go. The Solana accounts, wherever, just like get it ready, put it there for me, put it there. I mean, technically he wouldn't have to like ask them to do anything. He would just utilize their protocol as it existed. So it's not like him like sending Lido money. He's like going inside there. He's like putting it inside the contract, and then he's when he's going to go over to wherever he needs it to go, and how he's going to actually interact with it, and then it might, yeah, dude, like it's an interconnection between some of these bigger entities, and they just needed some kind of a little starter or some little bit more technology that they just couldn't
They just needed a
muster out.
spark of technology.
Right. I mean, there's a reason why Maker is going off and making their own chain, right? It's not like it's a big secret that they forked the ETH proof of work, and they timed when they took their snapshot and how they're going to do it and what their plans are, so it seems like this is all kind of clearly it's worth it, but anyone trying to attempt to try to put their finger on the nail or trying to figure this one out, it's going to be running in circles. And who knows? I'm sure most people probably don't even have a damn clue what's going on, which is probably all the better. But the question is how much money it actually, could it entail, and how big of an effect it could have on the blockchain. Because I mean, just unlocking that much liquidity and allowing bots to trade it could be talking billions. I mean, that article that I read was probably 3 years old, and it was like 1.4 billion. And the question is like, are they talking about half the liquidity pool is 1.4 billion? Like, so that's just the stable liquidity pools. It seems like those are the ones that he's tackling after. At the moment, it was just ones that were paired with one of those three entities.